I think I was 11, not 12, even though that is the average, when I first saw pornography. And by 13, I was fully consuming, watching, and engaging with pornography on a daily or regular basis. It was an addiction that lasted all the way until the middle of college, and I kind of even cringe using that word because during its time in teenage years all the way to college, it didn't feel like that. I didn't know another teenage boy who didn't watch it or talk about it regularly. We were products of the internet age. Starting to walk with Jesus in college, I had to all of a sudden confront the fact that I wasn't created for this type of distortion of my sexuality. There were monster-like qualities I started seeing in myself that were directly related to my use of pornography. I became incredibly selfish. I became incredibly fast-tempered. My view of women was terrible. That played itself out in teenage and high school relationships. Pornography, and this is something we don't usually deal with, pornography actually changed me, just like any other narcotic, drug, or addiction does. And even though porn has been around for a while, it's accessible beyond degree, and it's unbelievable. We all carry in our pockets a little rectangular glowing screen, hopefully an iPhone, amen, that gives access to a limitless world as long as we have phone, amen, that gives first generation that's native to the internet age, meaning I don't remember a time before the internet. I don't remember a time where I couldn't have access to anything at any time if I just put .com at the end. I was 2 when AOL was invented. I was 3 when text messaging was invented, 7 when Google was founded, 12 when the iPod was created, and by the time I got out of high school, everything we use today, like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc., was already on the scene. Let's just say my mom tried to explain to me what a fax machine was once. I had no idea what she was talking about. It actually sounded kind of futuristic, like you take a piece of paper, you put it in a phone, and it shows up halfway across the world. That doesn't sound archaic, that sounds like the future, but I digress. Now I actually make YouTube videos for a living, which is awesome, and some of them specifically deal with this topic of sexuality, porn, relationships, specifically with people my age or younger. So I have a unique front row seat on how this is playing out in my generation, which, by the way, making YouTube videos for a living is the best thing ever because I'm one of the few people that can say when my wife says, "Hey, Jeff, stop watching YouTube videos of Jimmy Fallon for the past 4 hours, go outside and say, hey, babe, I'm working here. And so it's a huge blessing. And by the way, if you think Jimmy Kimmel or Conan is funnier than Jimmy Fallon, I don't know if we could be friends, amen? Okay, just saying. But porn and technology have entered into this marriage as of late, and I don't think they're divorcing anytime soon. A friend of mine who runs a large anti-trafficking organization that actually does a lot of research on how porn and trafficking are implicitly connected said to me, Jeff, we are raising the most sexually exploitive and exploited generation in all of human history. How do we think that'll affect the world and society when we unleash them on the world and they're running businesses, running for office, and leaders of our next generation? I think of the Steubenville rape case, which you might be familiar with, happened a couple years ago. If you're familiar with it, it involved a few members of a high school football team at a party that raped a 16-year-old girl when she became passed out after drinking too much at one of their parties. There was even a video that surfaced during the trial because all these kids posted all of the stuff from that night online that a few hours before the rape, while the girl was already incapacitated, they were grabbing her, saying terrible things about her, and literally picking her up and throwing her around the room, in the living room, in the middle of the party. And 2 things became deeply obvious when watching that video. One is they were completely numb already, by 16 years old, maybe 17, when it was happening, that girl was another image bearer of God. Literally, to them, it was just an object to use and throw around, literally, in the room. She was only for their pleasure and their entertainment. And secondly, when you read some of the teenagers' responses during the trial, many didn't actually think it was rape because it wasn't that bad since she didn't resist or say no, which she couldn't, by the way, because she was incapacitated, or since it wasn't violent in nature. They actually thought she existed for their pleasure and use just because she was laying there. They've been trained their entire life to think that way, and I wouldn't doubt that porn is a huge part of that. Porn is unequivocally destructive to marriages. We all probably know some people where it has damaged a relationship or something of that nature. It's damaging to relationships, to souls, to jobs, to lives. And in about the last 3 to 5 years, research has come out, not just on porn, but also on technology as 2 separate issues, how they are both actually kind of rewiring our brain and changing our very brain chemistry. They aren't just affecting us, they're literally changing us. Let that sink in. I don't think it's a stretch then to say that to some degree we are remaking humans and not in a good way. And the biggest hit I think we are taking with this, not only with porn or technology, but specifically when they interact with each other, is the utter death of intimacy, which we heard in a few talks yesterday. And I mean true life-giving intimacy, vulnerability, or that nakedness. And I don't mean that physically. I mean the nakedness where you see the depth of another person, you see all that they are, and you say, I still want you. I'm not going anywhere. That is love. Being fully known and fully loved at the same time, that is intimacy. And porn, by its nature, cannot give that. No one knows what it means to be intimate anymore, and not just in our sexuality, but platonically speaking as well. As a millennial, when I go out to eat, there's an awkward silence. What do we all do? We pull out our phones. I actually heard a big marketer guy say that in the future, the most recognizable human feature will be the top of people's heads, because that's all everyone's gonna be able to see. But it's true, we all understand that this is a problem. We don't know what it means to be known anymore. In fact, I think we're terrified of being known, not realizing that joy is hiding right on the other side of that. I think we have a long road ahead of us, and this is deeply a multifaceted issue, deeply multi-complex. There's a lot of things that go into it, but I think two things that might help us continue on this journey, or at least what I mean by that is two things that have to happen if we're gonna see any progress. The first is some of us are already doing it and some of us need to start. We need to continue a complete and utter assault on the objectification of women. We do not realize how deep the issue is. Women are not commodities, they are not objects, they're not slaves to the male gaze. See, the problem with porn is it not only turns women into commodities or objects, but it commoditizes sex itself. Sex is no longer something sacred, but simply a consumer good. We have made orgasm not something that is this deeply beautiful climactic moment in the covenant of marriage, but it's actually now something you can simply buy, usually at the expense of a woman. And sadly, objectification happens in many different spheres of the Christian world too. Some people I've heard when they're fighting lust or pornography or all these different things, they'll say things like, well, don't do that or don't look at that because that's someone's daughter, that's someone's wife, that's someone's sister. I get what they're trying to say there, but at the root of it, they are actually tethering that woman's value to the relationship of her with a man. It's saying she only means something because of who she's related to, not who she is. There's a big difference, but the truth is a woman isn't valued, but the truth is, a woman is not valued because she's someone's daughter. A woman is valued because she's someone. That's a big, big difference. Nothing can bring more dignity than the realization of someone's genuine humanness, the sacredness of skin and bone and air and lungs and life. There's glory in the beauty of a body. There's denseness and beauty and glorification in God creating us with bodies. Let's never forsake that. And I think restoring that can help kill the objectification culture. And sometimes it's incredibly subtle too, by the way. Like I have an 11-month-old daughter named Kinsley, and sometimes with dads and daughters, they say weird stuff like, oh, I'm sorry, right? Or they'll say, sometimes a little bit more subtle, they'll say, oh, she's really cute, but I bet you can't wait to have a boy. It's like, what are you saying? Are you saying that she is like a JV version and I just can't wait till I use her as a stepping stone for the boy, right? It's like, do you really think that the peak of procreation or that the glory of fatherhood is having a little human with a penis? Are we serious? Right? Did I just say that, by the way? Don't tweet that, please. Don't tweet that. But it's true, right? It's like, that's really what they're actually saying. So we have to be careful, even in our subtle conversations, that we are lining up with our own ethic of what we are preaching. I read online someone who said success in porn or success in fighting porn happens when a guy looks away from porn, not because of shame, but when they have such a high view of woman that it's nearly impossible to get arousal from her exploitation. And lastly, we need to replace the no with a better yes. The only way to create lasting behavioral change is by actually giving a superior pleasure. It's like a desert, right? Now, if I'm in a desert and I'm dying of thirst and a toilet bowl magically shows up, it might be a mirage, probably is, I would drink it, would I not? Would you? It would probably taste amazing. I would guzzle that beast, put a straw in it, just tip it over. I'm probably not that strong, but you know what I mean, right? It would taste amazing and I would absolutely love it. It would satisfy me to some degree, might make me sick the next day, right? But if I'm home where I was born and raised in Washington State, we have amazing tap water. I know that's not true of all people. I've been to Louisville once, not good. Anyways, if I'm thirsty, where do I go? I don't go to the toilet, I go to the kitchen. Now, when I'm walking by the bathroom to get to the kitchen, I don't white knuckle my obedience to not drink the toilet water. I don't say, don't drink, don't drink, don't drink, don't look, don't look, don't look. Do I do that? No, why? Because I know I have something better. The superior option fades my attraction for the toilet water. Might we be people who not only say, hey, that's going to hurt you, or hey, that's damaging, but there is something better. Come this way. Come find life and beauty and intimacy and peace and mystery and wholeness and all these things at the feet of Jesus. I truly believe that Jesus is the truly human one, the prototype of all new creation that we can all fall in line with. And if we truly want to know what it means to be human and have a flourishing human existence, might we follow him? Because progress will not be made until we not only say no, but also say yes. Progress won't be made until people understand the fact that porn cannot deliver what we're truly created for, and that's that giving is better than taking, vulnerability is better than hiding, and covenant is better than contract. Thank you.